Hi CS260, this is Professor Jensen, and today I'm going to walk you through setting up your Mongo database so that you can call it from your backend service. So we're going to take two quick steps here. The first is just going and creating your account in MongoDB Atlas, and then we're going to use the credentials we get from that to actually configure a very simple database access program to actually insert some data into MongoDB and then to pull it back out again. So the first thing you want to do is head on over to mongodb.com, and you can go and select on their products, and you want to pick their cloud service Atlas. Once that's up, you can go ahead and push the try free button and just sign up. Now, you don't have to use any special account. You don't have to give them any information that is personal to you. You can basically, if you're not planning on using this long term, just kind of fake it. So I'm just going to put in like BYU Joe as my first name, and my last name is Joe again, and I don't care about the customer or the company, and I'm going to do byujoe@mailinator.com as that, and then I'm going to give it a password. I'll copy that on my clipboard in case I want to use it later, agree to the terms of service, and go ahead and create my account. Now it's going to send an email to Mailinator, so I got to go over and pop open that service. And so I'm going to get that username of BYU Joe and just paste it right into there as my account for Mailinator. And there I've got my email from MongoDB. Now the link in here is a little kind of always hard for me to find. So usually what I do is I go over to links, and this is the one I actually want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and click on there. That should verify me. Everything's good. I can go ahead and continue. And I'm going to skip the wizard. It asks you lots of stuff, but really, we know what we want. Just want to create a very simple account here. And we want the free service here. So go ahead and push create deployment. Creating the deployment is going to ask you a whole bunch of kind of questions. The most important one here is what you want your database collection username to be. And I'm going to keep that really simple and just call it Mongo. And I love their generated password, so I'm just going to copy that in my clipboard so I can make sure I have that there, or push this button right here to copy to my clipboard. And so I'm good to go now. I just have to wait for that cluster to actually provision. Now, the one thing that we're missing there is our network access. So I'm going to go and click on this here, and it's using the current IP address as the only place that I can actually go and talk to my cluster. And I want to make it so I can get to it from anywhere, because I want to get this from my server in Virginia, and that IP address may change, and I don't want it to have to be tied to that. Realize this is a security thing that you're doing here by opening it up to the entire world, but for the little thing we're playing around here, heavens, we just used a MongoDB, or we used a Mailinator email address, so we're not really securing this thing anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and put my add IP address here. I'm going to tell it I want to allow access from anywhere, and I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. So now I can hit this database from any computer in the entire world. I'm going to delete that one that was specifically for my IP address. So I've set up my my database user account. I've set up my access on the network. Next thing I want to do is just go and look at the cluster and see what data is actually in there and whether or not I can connect to it yet. So while you're waiting for this to actually create here, let's go ahead and set up our code so that we can make sure that it's working right. So I'm going to toggle over to Visual Studio Code, and I've just got the program here that's in the data services instruction within the GitHub instruction repository. Nothing special about this. We'll walk through it really quickly here to see what it's actually doing, but I'm going to go and create a dbconfig.json file, which is where I'm going to put my credentials so that they're not actually in my code that I'm checking in the GitHub. And if we remember, our username was Mongo, and our password, we copied that out of the clipboard, so I'm just going to paste that in here right now. And the only thing I need next is that host name there. So I'm going to toggle back over to Mongo, and I can see that my cluster is actually there and ready to go. So I'm going to push on this connect button, and I'm going to tell it that I want to connect using Node.js. And right here is the URL for my cluster that I want to connect to. So I'm just going to copy that right out of the connection string here. Go back over to my configuration in my database for my code, save that, and then I'm ready to go with my code. Let's just take one quick last look over here and make sure that our cluster looks good. And I can do that by pushing Browse Collections within that cluster. And if I look here, I should have like the sample collections that they blow into there, but currently I don't have anything that's specific to me. So now I'm ready to go back over to my code and look at what this is doing here. So I'm bringing in the npm package that's going to drive and talk to MongoDB, and then I'm pulling in my credentials that I just put into that file right over there. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect to that cluster using the URL, which combines my username, my password, and my host name in there. And I'm going to create a database called rental, and then I'm going to create a collection called house. First thing I'm going to do within my main function here is just execute a ping command to make sure that I can actually talk to the server. So let's go ahead and put a breakpoint right there and see if that works. So I'm going to start it up by pushing F5. It's going to start up Node, and then I'm going to step over the ping command and make sure that it doesn't throw an exception. No exception thrown, so I'm actually going to print out that I'm connected to the database. We're good down there. Next thing I'm going to do is actually insert a document into it. So I'm going to go in and step over that and insert the document. Now I can toggle back over to MongoDB and refresh this right here and see that I have a new collection here. So there's the sample one that they created for me, and then here's my rental one, and I have one house here. Get rid of our tasks and see that I've got my little home, the beachfront views, which is the same exact thing that I actually sent into it from there. Now I can go ahead and query that to pull that back out. So now I'm looking for a type of condo that has less than 2 beds. So that should match the document that I just inserted in there right now. So we're going to step over that. We're going to do a find on that. That's going to give us back a cursor. I'm going to turn that cursor into an array, and I'm going to get back my rentals. So I've got a .1 document in there, and it's just a JavaScript object, which actually is my data that I stuck into the database. Print out that information and close up my connection and let it continue running, and I'm done. So that's everything there is to really get started with MongoDB. You just go to the MongoDB Atlas browser interface, create yourself an account, create your cluster there, specify that you want to be able to connect to it from anywhere in the network settings, make sure you give it a username and password. You take the URL for your cluster plus the username and password, put those into your DB config file, and then you're off and running. That same kind of thing you're doing there with the sample code, you can then put over into either the Simon code or into your startup code, and you've got full persistence database support. Hope you have fun with that. Have a great day.